Welcome back to the 150K podcast. I'm your host, Joe Graham, where you help take you from dreams to six figures and beyond. Today, I have special guest, Jarrod Souza, founder of CFO Expertise. I actually met him at a mutual friend of ours event, George Bryant in Montana in October. Super excited. I don't know Jarrod that well, so it's kind of like a first date for us. But Jarrod, if you could tell my audience a little bit more about your background, where you're at.
Yeah. And by the way, wasn't that event awesome?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah. So good. And you meet so many good people. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
George has a knack for bringing that type of person together in a small group setting like that. It's great.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a quick shameless plug. He has an event coming up in March. You should go to it. George Bryant, check it out. I will give him a shameless plug all day. But yeah, Jarrod, tell us a little bit about you. We can talk about George later.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know how far to go back. We kind of talked about that before. I've done, different things kind of early on in my career, but I've always been in the financial game. One thing about me is I love marketing. So what's interesting is any book that I consume, if I want to do it for fun, is typically on the marketing side. I just love kind of increasing my level of expertise there, even though I don't do marketing. But yeah, so I've worked in the energy industry. My in-laws own an energy company in Oklahoma City. We talked about that. I lived there. They exited that in a pretty big acquisition back in 2012. And from there, I got in direct to consumer brand. It was actually in a sports kind of category. Where as a CFO there, we scaled from 4 to 40 million in about 4 years.
Oh, nice.
And just, man, we had our data, our marketing data, our financial data all tied together, just pushing forward. It was amazing. And I left that company to assume the role as CFO at Michael Hyatt and Company, which then brought my family to Nashville, which is where we're currently at. And while working there, I just realized that I really had a heart for serving directly with small business owners and entrepreneurs. And so I resigned from that role. It's been about 8 months now to start my own firm. And so here we are. Yeah.
No, that's
so now,
cool.
Yeah, it was a big step because, man, Michael Hyatt and Company is a great company. So it was a really tough decision, but, it just felt like that's where I was led. And so kind of stepped out. It's been going great so far. So now my firm, we serve e-commerce brands to help them get visual into their financials, wherever they're going. And we can show them which levers to pull to scale. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I like that. So you did the corporate America thing. You got everything going there. You helped the company, if I heard you right, go from 4 million to 40 million as a CFO. So you've done the inner working stuff, and now your heart is to help entrepreneurs, small businesses, scale and learn on the financial side of that. So let's talk about this first. You made the step from corporate America to your own brand. And a lot of people that listen to this show are either sales professionals or entrepreneurs. What led you to that point? Because I'm assuming you're a calculated guy. So you didn't just one day look at your family, go, hey, we're going to do this.
That's right. Yeah. We definitely, in my role, we look at risk mitigation. Right. And so what was interesting about that is, so Michael Hyatt has kind of their hiring coaching called Business Accelerator. And I would get on calls with all of the clients, and it's just a Q&A, which can be this a CFO, because, you have a lot of people saying, well, what should my gross profit margin be? And, obviously you need to know the inner workings of that. But, we get off those calls and I would get these messages that, man, that was the best value we've had in, such and such time frame, and get all these questions. And I would get on phone calls, would help these people. And that just really started driving kind of my view of, man, I can help like a lot more people if I had my own firm, right? I mean, we all know the statistics of businesses that go out of business and all of that. And so what was interesting about that is I started having people reach out to me from my past on if I could help them. And, but I never wanted to do anything while I was at Michael Hyatt. Like, I wanted to serve them wholeheartedly 100% of my time. Cause that's what I committed to.
Yeah.
So I had enough people kind of ask me, and I took a step out and was like, yeah, I think I want to do this. So then I get on the phone with them and be like, okay, I'm ready. And so, it was a little bit of faith there. But luckily several of them, signed up for our services, and I'm still serving them today. So yeah, it was great, but it's taken a while to get back to where I was at. Right. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I had a good foundation, but it's still, taking a lot of marketing, a lot of outreach, a lot of referral sources. And at the end of the day, I just want to serve my clients really well. And then they can go tell others about me.
Yeah, no, and that's
Yeah.
perfect. But and I like this. So you had the track record. You had
Yep.
already started helping people. That desire was already there. And people were like, hey, so you said, hey, cool, let me help you. And then you reached out, but you still had to put the work in. So I
That's
mean, you
right.
had the foundation, but you put the work in. So you
Yep.
said you started about 8 months ago.
Yep.
What would you say are the biggest, I guess let's go with the harder ones first, the biggest pitfalls or things that you wish you might have known before you stepped out?
Yeah. Um, so I'm going to go back to, before I was in the energy sector, I worked for JP Morgan Chase, right? So when you're talking about corporate America, like I worked for one of the biggest behemoths, right, in the banking industry. And that I knew was just not for me. And so small business, that's where my heart is. You can touch many different aspects of the business. And so I knew going into this that I'm not going to have a support team. I'm not going to have an assistant anymore. Right. I'm not going to have these people that can help. It's a lot of it's going to be on my shoulders and just rolling up my sleeves and getting it done, which I have no problem with. But it's just there was a lot more, even though I knew it in the back of my head subconsciously. But
Yeah.
when you're talking about the marketing, the outreach, the content, the serving your clients, the processes, the SOPs, right? All of these things. And so, one of the posts that I just saw about you was about time blocking. And so I
Mhm.
just really schedule those intentionally. And you just kind of start chipping away at them, each and every day and each and every week. So I would say there was a little bit of overwhelm at the start of, oh wow, there's a lot to do here.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but you put a plan in place and you execute on that, and it starts getting easier and easier.
Well, and what I like about it is because of your background and how you think, you're able to piece those together. Because a lot of entrepreneurs and people that I meet with and salespeople that I help coach, they have a great dream or this great thing they want to do, but they don't plan it out. And like we mentioned, time blocking. I have won multiple awards from doing the boring processes that need to be done that
Mm-hmm.
people don't think about. So everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Everyone wants to own a business. They just don't understand that a lot of it is boring day to day, doing it
Yeah,
over and over and over and over and over and over again.
that's right. It's that consistency piece, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a game changer.
Yeah. And I work with mid-market companies. So like I
Mm-hmm.
love that space. I could work with bigger companies, but I like the smaller 0 to 400 because like you said, you get to touch different parts and pieces with them.
That's
So
right.
with your business, how do you help small business currently with what you're doing?
Yeah. So we pretty much have, like, and I'm not going to get into like the different levels, but we have 3 levels of services. And so really kind of our top levels, we come in, I've got bookkeepers, accountants, and like CFO strategy. So we can be your whole financial arm of your business. Like you can outsource your whole financial department. We can take over that. And then I have more like just advisory type strategic planning. We come in, you've already got bookkeepers, accountants, all that taken care of it. And I come in and look at the numbers. But really to boil it down is we come in and basically take the blindfold off. Like most of our clients, we walk in and they have no idea at month end, was that good? Was it bad? What does that mean for year end? What does that mean for the future?
Mhm.
Like they really have no idea where they're going, right? So, the analogy of like driving a car blindfolded, like literally that's what business owners are facing. And so the biggest I guess phrase that I've heard is, I just need clarity. And so I really actually posted this on Facebook the other day, which is like there's really 3 main pillars in business, which is sales, operations, and finance. And finance tends to be the one that's always neglected,
Mhm.
which at the end of the day, I'm biased, but I would say it's one of the most important, because even though if you have your why in business, if you're not profitable, your why is not going to matter.
Right.
Right. And so you need to make sure that you have that dialed in. And so with my data analytics and marketing background as well, I basically come in and give owners a visual into the future with a forecast and show them which levers that they can pull to get to that point. And then we establish KPIs, and then we review and make sure we're on track.
Gotcha.
So it sounds really simple, but there's complexity behind it.
But not right. And I agree with you. You could have an awesome sales team, but if you don't handle your money correctly, your business is going nowhere. So,
That's
I mean,
right.
100% that. So explain to people, when you say pull levers, what are you meaning for someone that maybe doesn't work in our world as much?
Yeah. So when we're looking at that, one of those could be, they don't know what their customer lifetime value is, right? So they think a customer might be worth $50 for them. And you look at it over the past year and you're like, wow, they're actually worth $350 over a year. So you should be spending 3x on marketing to acquire front-end customers. And you're going to thank me next year.
Yeah. Because once you get them in, if you keep them happy, you can make like the exchanges there. No, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
That's right. And again, but it's the trusting the data, right? And just giving them like, no, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And then we just make sure that they're staying on track.
Yeah, no, I see a big need for this because again, like with you, I talk to entrepreneurs all day long and business owners, and they live month to month a lot of times, and they're not understanding if they could just slow down and plan it out.
That's
right. That's huge. That's crazy huge. So how do you use time blocking? Because I know you said that you read that post and it made sense. So for like your day and how you set up, how do you use time blocking?
Yeah. So so even going back, I worked out early mornings, like as soon as I wake up, because I know, so I have 4 children. So my day can get crazy and I just know I won't do it in the afternoon. So if I don't do it first thing in the morning, I won't get to it. And then once I get ready, I drop my kids off at school. And then from 8 to 9, I have just focus time where I'm prepping for the day. If I ever need to get like anything else done, I do that. I allow meetings with clients from about 9:30 to 11:30, and then again in the afternoon, 1:30 to 2:30, pretty much. And then I usually have, a little break for lunch, but between those meetings, I block time or 8 to 9 for working on my business. So either producing content, learning something new, right? Creating reports for one of my clients, getting processes realigned. I have a call with my team once a week where we make sure, books are closed, all clients' data is flowing. So I really lay out my entire week and try and block all that time, because if you don't plan it, then it's not going to get done.
Yeah, no. And I am harping a little bit on this, but it's so true. Like when I've been in sales 15 years, when I didn't time block, I didn't know what was happening in the month. But now that I use it, night and day.
And this is like, I worked at Michael Hyatt and Company, like he's a productivity guru, right? And so he has his own planner, and the 3 things you need to get done today, which should be based on 3 things you want to get done that week, which should be based on 3 things, your goals for that quarter, right? And you're kind of backing into that. So I'm doing that as well as I'm breaking that down into time blocking. So I have the 3 main tasks or deliverables I need to get done that week are definitely time blocked each and every week.
Yeah, like your biggest needle movers that you want to move your business forward with. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
it's so crazy that people. And I used to do it. Like, I'm just thinking of this. I used to do it. Like, I wasted so much time because I would run to this task and then run to that task. And it wasn't, I think it's more so time blocking helps you get the right task position correctly, so that when you're in that moment making calls or doing content or whatever you're doing, you're 100% focused.
Yeah. And it's about your energy level too, in the way that you think, right? Like I'm most productive in the morning. So I try and have my calls in the afternoon because it's not as deep thinking for me, right? So I'm trying to solve problems in the morning or put processes in place because I know that's when I do my best thinking. So if you just know yourself, you can strategically, time block certain aspects of things you need to get done based on your energy level.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you said that. So I work out in the afternoon. So I get up in the morning, I do like a podcast. I get up in the morning, I read, I do a podcast, have a little bit of a morning routine. I go into work, do my stuff there, and then I do a lot of my workouts, podcasting, sales stuff in the afternoon. But I make my call blocks in the morning because energy for a salesperson is the more you're reaching out. Whereas with you, your problem solving. It's just funny how it parallels, but it's still success leaves clues. It's the process. It's the process.
Yeah. I mean, like I love modeling, like data modeling, reviewing the analytics. What does this mean? And so I try and do that in the morning because I can go pretty deep on that stuff. So yeah.
No, that makes sense. What other daily habits or routines do you have? Or do you schedule everything out or you just schedule your business out? I know people do it differently. So
Yeah, that's actually my wife and I were just talking about that. I was like, don't you have access to my calendar? Because there's been some conflict here recently. So I thought she did. She does not. But yeah, so we've just talked about that. So she now has access to my calendar. And now on Sundays, we've time blocked to look at our upcoming week. Because there's times when she can't pick up our kids. I need to go and I need to make sure I don't have meetings, right? So just a little bit of that, that we do that on Sundays just to make sure our weeks are aligned. Yeah.
yeah, no, it makes sense. I have kids too, and the wife, and it's just like sometimes you're like, what is going on? Oh,
Right.
I didn't tell you I was doing this. Okay, we need to fix that.
That's right. Yep. It does happen.
Definitely. So I know you're super busy and all, but do you read a lot or do you have any books that you would recommend for entrepreneurs, sales professionals, people in general?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's interesting is I've gone down the rabbit hole of cryptocurrency. So I'm actually reading Bitcoin Standard right now, which I
Nice.
would highly recommend, not even if you're into crypto, just if you want to know economics, the gold standard, silver standard, right? Like how fiat currency is pegged. And anyways, it's a fantastic read. The previous book I read before that was $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi.
That's a good book.
Right? Going back to marketing. Yeah, Atomic Habits I read with James Clear. Fantastic.
I'm reading that right now. I love that book. Yeah,
Man,
I'm halfway through it right now. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. One of the best, so even coming from my field, one of the best I would say for entrepreneurs in terms of like a financial simplified is Simple Numbers by Greg Crabtree. Okay. So he kind of wrote the cash flow aspect of scaling up, model, which is like, yeah, it's a great book. So that would be a recommendation if you just kind of want an overview of financials, some KPIs that you could establish. It's a great simple read. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you intrigue me with the crypto. So I don't sell crypto. I do have a little bit of crypto because I would bought it. Like I watched Bitcoin fall really low and I bought it at 34 and sold it at 50, but it was play money. It wasn't anything major. So with that book, because you said it wasn't just about crypto, it's about like the gold standard and some of the other stuff. What intrigued you about that? Because I have like a general knowledge of finance, but I wouldn't say I'm like a master by any means.
Yeah. Well, so what's funny with that, like you can't see it because my camera, but I have a mining rig right here. So I'm currently mining Ethereum, which I've been doing for the past 5 months. Yeah, which is just fun to do. So fingers crossed that Ethereum keeps going up. But yeah, so the biggest thing is kind of what we're seeing right now, which is if the government controls the money supply, it can falsely inflate the value or deflate the value, right? And you see that with interest rates, and when you kind of take just letting capitalism run its course, bad things tend to happen historically. like the government thinks that they're helping, but it's like ripping off a band-aid. No, just rip it off quick, everything will settle, right? But right now, like there's a chart I saw about the circulation of the dollar, and like since 2020 it's just like skyrocketed, and it's basic supply demand, right? The more supply that we're having, the more we're devaluing our dollar, which we're seeing inflation, right? And there's other aspects that go into it, but he just does a really good job of breaking that down. And you're like, oh wow, we're actually like living through this right now, and it just kind of makes everything clear. And at the end of the day, I think that there is going to have to be a change. Like if you go back through all history, like there's always been currencies that have come and then they're gone, right? Like and I feel like the same thing is going to happen until the people can really control the currency and there's a limited supply that will hold its value. I don't know if Bitcoin's the answer. I think it's one step to whatever that answer is.
Right.
But yeah.
No, I'm with you with that.
Fascinating.
It's just interesting because for a while I had buddies get into it and I just didn't really pay attention to it. Then I won $50 from a buddy of mine of Litecoin. And then I just left it and it went down to like $20. And then all of a sudden it started going back up, and I shifted that over just for fun into Bitcoin when it was down. And I think that's at like $200 now. It's just, for me, I'm kind of feeling like this. I have my normal investments that I don't touch. So like, your standard mutual funds. Then I think it was $1,000 last year, and I made $800. I'm like at 1,800 just playing around. So like this stuff intrigues me, but I call it fun money that if I lost it, it's not a big deal, but.
And I think that's how you have to go into it. I mean, especially with, some of these like altcoins that you see, they're like, oh, if you invested 1,000, it'd be worth 500 million. You're like, well, yeah, but it could have quickly gone to zero, right? Like, yeah. So you have to be willing to lose it all potentially and play with money that you're able to lose. Yeah. No,
that's funny.
Yeah.
And I like I said, the show, we do talk about a lot of stuff with business and all, but sometimes Marvel comes up, sometimes big. It just depends. But I am reading Atomic Habits, which I really like that, and the stacking and the doing the things and making it easy. What other like words of wisdom, or let's do this first. I always like to do this halfway through. Tell people where they can find you and how they can get connected with you, because I know sometimes people drop off at the end or maybe they won't hear it. So I want them to be able to reach you.
Yeah. So you can find me at CFOexpertise.com. If you want to schedule a call, there's a link there. It's just a 1-page landing page that talks about me, the company. That's probably the best place. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, just under my name, Jarrod Souza. And I also own JarrodSouza.com, but CFOexpertise.com is probably the easiest because a lot of people aren't going to know how to spell my first name or last name. So
gotcha. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It's not spelled the right way. I'll just say that.
Well, let's do this. We'll get back to the other question, but I ask some guests this and sometimes I don't, but I just really like this question. So I want your thoughts on it.
Okay.
You could go back in time as far as you want, or forward in time as far as you want. You get to go and be there for a year and learn from whoever you want. Then you get to bring that knowledge back here. Where would you go? Who would you see? And what would you learn?
Wow. That's a powerful question, man. There's been so many great people in history.
Yeah, it's hard. And there's no wrong answers. I mean, you can go forward, you can go backwards.
Yeah. I don't think I actually want to go forward in time with the way that things are headed. So I think I would go backwards.
There you go.
Yeah. And I think like all the standard answers, like maybe like Warren Buffett or Steve Jobs, like I hate giving those kind of standard answers. So I'm trying to like go a level deeper.
No one said Jobs. No one person on my show has said Jobs. No one said Buffett. People actually like to go farther back.
Okay. Yeah.
I know I should have. That was a little bit of a surprise question.
Yeah, that's powerful. I don't know why, but it's not leaving my brain right now, but it's Warren Buffett, even though I said I wasn't going to say him. And I think if you were able just to sit, and it's not even about his stock picks or what he's done in investing, but how he structured his day, right? Anytime you learn about him, is he's just always learning. He's always reading, and learning the craft and learning what's going on in the markets. And so I don't think that would have enticed me to get into trading necessarily, but just the discipline that he had in always learning. I think I have like a piece of that, but it's like maybe 2% of what he exemplifies. Yeah.
No, and it makes sense though, because who you hang out with or who you can glean wisdom from makes sense. Like you maybe wouldn't pick the same things he would pick, but if you have the understanding or how he looks at life and you learn that aspect of it, you can go a lot farther, because you're still going to be uniquely you.
For sure. And like my grandfather-in-law who owned the energy company, like I don't even think he graduated high school. Maybe he graduated high school, but brilliant engineering mind, and created this company. He's got several patents on oil field equipment. And it's just because he was always learning like a student of the industry. He's just brilliant too. But even when I would be around him, he was very humble. And so there's so many things that I picked up from him in terms of how to lead with authority and with humbleness at the same time, which is a virtue you don't see in many people. Anyways, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent there, but he probably would have been another one, but I was able to like learn from him. He's such a fantastic person. But I would say, people like that in my life, I picked up so much from.
No, I like that. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because I think leadership is huge, especially for business people, entrepreneurs, salesmen. What do you mean by what you said about your grandfather? I think you said it was your grandfather.
Yeah. Well, it's my wife's grandfather, so
Gotcha.
grandfather-in-law. But so leading through authority and humbleness.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is, I think why that came out too is somebody asked me that the other day, if I've ever known anybody that has both of those aspects. And there's actually only been two people in my life that I've worked for or with. One was him, and the other was Michael Hyatt. And so what I mean by that is they can come into a room and just command the authority, not by brute force, not by scare tactics, not right. It's just, you respect them, you respect who they are, you respect how they carry themselves, you respect their knowledge. But they also have this humbleness that it's okay to speak up. Do you not agree with me? Well, then let's talk about it, because you might be able to change their mind, right? It's not like just their way or the highway.
Right.
And that's why they have you there. And so it's just, to me, it's a hard combination to find in people. And I think that type of leadership actually starts in humbleness, and that authority comes from that aspects of the way that they live their life and hold themselves.
No, that makes sense. It's like they have that presence because they know who they are, but it's not because we've all run into the arrogant leader, the one that they have to be the biggest brain in the room. Whereas it's better if you know where you're at, but are willing to learn from other people, but you still have that confidence to lead. No, that makes perfect sense.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. So, but yeah, those are actually the only two people that I've worked for that I've found that characteristic in.
Yeah, no, I think it's rare. I find a lot of times either you people are too far one way, or too far the other way, because they haven't gotten comfortable with who they are yet. And I think that's a human condition. Like, I'm 44 now, and now I'm very comfortable with who I am. But when I was starting out in sales, when I was 30, I had no idea. I was scared to knock on the door and talk to someone. And now I'm talking to, CEOs, CFOs, no big deal. It's that the time over tension.
That's right. Yeah.
So what other words of wisdom or thoughts would you give to someone that, like you, if maybe they're starting out with the business, or they have a dream or an idea of how to either start that, or just words of wisdom in general?
Yeah. So I would say make sure you have a plan in place, right? Especially starting out, and I'm thinking more on the business side, right? If you're starting your own business, going out on your own, and you want to make sure you're on the right trajectory to hit that plan. Like you said, potential, like if some people like do moonlighting. So if you can work as a side hustle to offset your income, great. Like, do that first. Make sure that you prove out the model. Don't just jump in head first. There are people that do that and they don't want a plan B, and that's the only way they survive. But in today's environment, you can do both until you can get it up and going. At least test it, right? I always say test always and fail fast. So if the test isn't working, pull the plug, try something else. Especially
if you have a family, because they believe in you, but don't just jump without the conversation.
And I would say, outside of that too, is like network. Like, get to know people in your industry, get to know the people that are past you that have already done it. I mean, there's so many connections that I have where I'll just get somebody that calls and they're like, hey, I need you to help out this company, right? Like, because the people that know me trust me and know that I'll take care. Like, they have no problem referring me because they when you refer somebody, your name's at stake. And so
Right.
you don't want to refer
100%.
somebody that's not going to take care of them.
That's right.
And so, yeah. So, always do what you say you're going to do, and just do it ethically. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like when we were at the event, I networked a bunch. Like I met a lot of really cool people that I didn't
Yeah.
even know existed till I actually went to that event. I encourage
Yeah.
people to do that because like you just
Yeah.
don't think about it. And then you go there and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah. And there's several people that I just sat down and talked to and gave advice, knowing they'll probably never be a client, but that's okay. Like I'm just here to provide value, and it's all good. Right. And I think those are the types of people that go to George's event. God, I feel like we're doing like this shameless go to George's event plug, but
It's
but
okay.
it is really, yeah. Yeah. He's going to have to pay us for this one. But I think because that's the way that he leads and other people see that in him. Right. And so that's what attracts everybody there, that's why it's such a special event. I feel like, because everybody's kind of on this same level of, man, we're just here to help each other out. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the whole feeling of it. Like even going in and like I told you, I've just started this in June. I didn't feel like, oh, you're the new guy. No one wants to, why are you bothering me? It was like, people just connecting and giving and helping where they could. And that's where community comes in. And I think for entrepreneurs, salespeople in general, whether you go to the event that me and Jarrod went to or other events, find a group of people that you can be around that will lift you up, connect with you and help you. I mean, you can't do this. I would say this. I bet you would agree. You can't do this on your own.
No, there's so many people that I call on from that event, right? Like that just sometimes you just need a sounding board to bounce ideas off somebody, get their perspective. Hey, how would you do this? Right. And they're more than willing to help.
Yeah. And it comes back to you though. So like, I know we're talking about like we give stuff away. Well, yeah, you do give stuff away. When you're an entrepreneur business person, you do, but it will come back to you. It might not be through that person, but they may refer you. I train sales guys with this all the time. If you don't have the answer, give them to someone that will. And they're like, what? And I'm like, think about it. If you solve their problem, they're going to be happy. And then they're going to refer people that you can help.
Yeah. What's interesting. So I have a pretty funny story. So one of my clients now, actually was a referral from somebody. And we got on the phone. They had a fractional company that was already helping them. And he's like, man, I don't feel like they're giving me what I need. It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't feel right. And so I said, well, listen, if you were my client, I would want to know that and have the opportunity to fix it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And not just be abandoned. And so I said, why don't you go back to them and just be completely candid and just say, hey, I don't feel like I'm getting the value out of this, and give them a month or two, whatever you decide. And if they're still not, then we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
And so he did that. Between that time, I think it was about 2 months, I made a couple of videos for him, just to make sure he knew that I was still around.
Right. Keep
some
the touch.
dashboards.
Keep the touch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some dashboards that I'd created for clients. And yeah, so lo and behold, it was like 2 months later, he's like, okay, yeah, we're still not getting it. So we want to transition. And I felt good about that. So, he's my client now, that if I'm not serving him, I at least know he's going to give me the opportunity to fix it. But, I don't want to be out here just stealing clients from people. Right. I want to make sure it's a good fit. And at the end of the day, I have to sleep at night. So,
yeah, but that goes back to what you said about being the humble leader, about here, I can help you, but you're working with this person. Talk to them first, see if you can mend that relationship. If not, I don't mind helping you, but I'm not trying to take that. I'm just trying to help you. And right. I think that builds more credibility.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's authentic what I told them. Like if it would have worked out with that other client, good for them, because, they listened to their client and fixed the issue. But if it didn't, then I'm more than happy to serve them. So, you know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. You did what you could do.
Yeah.
You set it up, and now you have that trust. Cause I think trust is huge. It's just, for sure. It's massive.
Well, especially with what I do, right? Like they're literally handing me the keys to their bank accounts. So, right. There's a lot of checks and balances to make sure that, hey, we're not like, we're above board, and make sure that there's no opportunity that anything can happen from our perspective. So yeah, there's a lot of trust, especially with what we do.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's definitely good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jarrod, any other last parting words for my audience? Anything else you just want to leave them with?
Man, this has been great, by the way. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. I loved it.
Yeah, I would say if you're feeling that itch to take that leap, like really listen to that. And like I said, maybe don't jump in head first, but start taking steps in that direction. It can be scary, trust me. I went through it. I've got 4 children. Like we talked about this, like I'm the sole breadwinner of our family, right? If this doesn't go, then it's not
I'm with you.
a good look.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
So yeah. So I mean, if anybody wants to pose questions about that, if they're thinking about, going out on their own, I'm more than happy to talk about that in my experience and, give them any advice that I can. And I guess on the flip side of that is make sure you have your financial data in the right spot so that you know where you're headed and you're staying profitable. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, I like it. Reverse engineer it. Have the plan set out. Know your numbers. Get yourself. It's so funny because I used to make this joke all the time. I do my sales job as a business. Like I knew how many people I had to call to make the money I wanted to make I run my sales job as a business. And now moving into that thing, it's like a little bit different in a feeling like, I don't know, but
but think about this, like the numbers that you have, it just becomes a math formula.
Yeah.
Right. Like at this point, you have enough data to know if I make these many calls, this should be my conversion. I should get this many people on the phone, convert, should have this average order value. Like that's the same thing that I do with marketing. It's just when you boil it down, it comes down to a math formula. Now the creative testing of the green or red button, like, the optimization side of it, that's different. But at the end of the day, like we know that it's this math formula. You spend this, you're going to get this many customers. This is the customer lifetime value. Yes, let's keep doing this. Or no, this is actually losing you money. Stop doing this immediately.
And that's the beauty of it. Once you have your system in place and know what you need to do, and all you do is the boring process of doing it over and over and over again to get the amount you want. I mean,
that's right.
That's just the craziness. Well, thank you again, Jarrod, for being on. I appreciate it. And everyone for listening, thank you. Please like, share, subscribe, send this to your friends, anyone in business that maybe Jarrod could help, or if it just, maybe they're thinking about starting a business, send it to them too. And until next time, have a wonderful, awesome day. My name is Joe Graham, the 150K podcast, where we help take your dreams to 6 figures and beyond.